It's raining outside. I'm still in bed. My awesome son bought me a coffee. This is the first time I've stayed in bed till 10:30 in probably 3 years. How you going? This is throat singing. And it goes on and on. And that's what today's Bro Check video is about. Firstly, why am I in bed? Well, I've had an awesome 2 weeks, and I had a healing last night, an alternative healing, Reiki, which is something I've never ever believed in. I've always thought it was airy-fairy bullshit. But my mind changed about 6 years ago about alternative healings. And I'm going to share with you an amazing experience which can only be considered as out of this world, of a healing I got that changed my whole skeptical mind. I don't believe in anything other than the things I see and hear. I don't even believe half of those. Here I am, lying in my bed for the first time. My son bought me a coffee. I'm sitting in here because after the healing I had last night, I get 2 healings a week now from a nurse, a registered nurse, and another healer. And these healings, I believe, have helped me. But there's no medicine I'm taking in. It's just energy transformation. And they said, you'll be tired the next day. Take it easy so the healing works. I've got a lot of work piling up to here that I've got to do, but I said, no, I'll listen to them, and that's exactly what I've done. But this story, we've got to go back 6 years ago, about 6 years ago. Elisabeth Westermann is the German who created this incredible healing for balancing your atlas. Your atlas is what your head sits on. Now, I had been having massive neck problems, like you wouldn't believe. I couldn't even ride my road bike. I couldn't ride it because I'd have my head down. That's a pedal bike, push bike. I've since actually given that to a young fella so he can train on, but I used to have it and I couldn't ride it because I couldn't have my head up because my neck would hurt all the time, and it was just like to the point where I'd have these headaches. I couldn't sing properly, I couldn't think, I couldn't sleep, and it got worse and worse. So I went and saw the chiropractor, and he clicked it back into place. And I said to my dad, it's back in place now. My father said something very interesting. It actually clicked just then as I was talking. Funny that. Did you hear that, son? I just turned and it clicked. He said it'll go out again. They always do. And he was right, it did go out. So I went back and saw him again 2 weeks later, the chiropractor, and he clicked it back in, and guess what? It went out. And I kept on struggling. I was at the Evolve Festival in Nelson, which is alternative medicines. And I'm not really into alternative stuff. I mean, let's face it. If you're up in the sky and you're flying along and you're in an airplane and suddenly the pilot had a heart attack and somebody came up to you and said, oh, I'll fly the plane, and you said to them, have you got a license? And they said, no, I'm an alternative pilot. You wouldn't feel very comfortable or confident with them flying it. You'd rather have someone who said, I'm a registered orthodox type pilot that's got his license. Well, it's the same for me with doctors, and I've always had that sort of mindset. So when I went to the Evolve Festival and I met this guy who's had some ridiculous name that just made me steer away from, some name like Harmony, Rainbow Flower, fucking weird hippie shit. I was like, no, I'm not going to look at this guy. His actual real name originally was Walter. But he had changed he'd been a chiropractor for 21 years. He worked in the sports area of correcting people for 21 years in Richmond here, where I live. And he'd become disheartened with correcting people's necks and body just to only have it go out again, just like mine did. He said he'd straighten them up, and then, of course, 3 or 4 weeks later, it just clicked back out again, and he got sick of it. So he did some research, and he researched a woman called Elisabeth Westermann, a German woman, and she would balance people's atlases. That's the axis your neck sits on. He would balance it by singing, just like I started this video, and all that sort of weird shit. And it was $250 for a visit. But it was only one visit, and that would cure your neck forever. And I was there with my girlfriend at the time, Awi. Well, she still is my girlfriend, but at that time we were there checking out different stuff because we thought it'd be interesting to see together. And I said to her, "This is bullshit. He's a quack." And she said, "Well, why don't you just be open-minded and try it?" And I said, "Nah, there's no scientific reason. There's nothing I can find that would suggest that this can work. And $250, I can't really even afford that much." And she said, "Well, you always tell me you've got an open mind." And I thought about that line, an open mind. What's an open mind? Well, an open mind is where you put science aside and your experiences, and you still remain open for different experiences. And I thought, I haven't got an open mind. I'm pretty much fixed, and I don't believe in a lot of things. And my biggest fear is losing $250 for something that I don't believe is going to work. She said, "Well, take his number anyway." So I had to talk to him about this and the singing and what he does and all that, and stuck the card in my pocket. And he said, "I'm coming back to Nelson," because he works around the country. "I'm coming back to Nelson in 2 weeks. Come and see me and I'll fix that neck up. You need fixing." And it was in my mind, and I thought, "No, I'm not going to do it." I already decided that. And probably the day before he came, I was out doing some shooting on the back of the farm here, and I was just about to squeeze the trigger to shoot a rabbit, and I pulled my neck to the scope as you turned to the side, and I actually felt it even shift more, and it was like painful, and I didn't even pull the trigger, and I went home, emptied the rifle, put it back in the safe, and I went to bed miserable, thinking, fuck. Sometimes it takes a crisis. I thought, well, I've tried everything else. I've had physio, I've had the chiropractor, I've been to the GP, I've taken so many painkillers. I'll go and see this Rainbow Gypsy fucking Harmony Flower, whatever his name is. His real name's Walter, but he changed it. I'll go and see this guy. That'll do, Pace. Pace is just in the corner there. He's actually in the wardrobe. No barking. I'll go and see this guy and see if there's any merit in it. But I'm not going to part with my $250. Here's where the story gets really interesting. So he had rented a house up on the hills here in Nelson. My girlfriend actually drove there. We drove because my neck was so far and I couldn't even drive. And I remember walking up the stairs to this place thinking, this is a waste of time. And I had $250 cash in my pocket because he asked for cash. Now this guy I found him to be very rude, and I told him this. I went up there and he just said, "Wait there, please." And another guy had come out that had just been straightened up, was going like this with his neck, and just looked really like he was high. And he looked like an airy-fairy hippie, bloody one of those bendy type people. "Hey man, what's happening, dude?" Fucking, yeah, shut up. So I was like in the chair, and he said, "Sit down, please." It wasn't he wasn't like a lot of doctors. He had no people skills. But that didn't matter, because what was about to unfold next was life-changing for me on so many levels. Sat in the chair, and he said, and my girlfriend sat directly in front of me looking at me, because she wanted to watch it. I asked her if she could. He sat in the chair, and he said, I want to find out what your neck's doing. And I said, "Before we start, I just want you to know that if I don't feel any shift or change during this procedure, I'm not going to give you your $250. That's not going to happen, sorry. Because I don't actually feel like this really is going to work, and I'm very skeptical, but I'm just at the end of my sort of rope." He didn't even say anything. He wasn't even like, he was so confident, he wasn't even like trying to argue the point. So he got me to turn my neck, and I put the camera in front. So to the left, I first of all went, and I could only go about that far. And then he got me to go to the right, and I could do a little bit more to the right. And then he got me to look straight up. And when I went straight up, it really fucking hurt, and I could hardly go down. I was really restricted in my movement. He goes, "Oh, you're really in a bad way." He says, "I can't believe you're a singer." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Well, you're not breathing right. You're doing short breathing, like fight or flight breathing. Like you're in high alert all the time, and you're not breathing down right from your abdomen up. Your diaphragm's not working properly. How do you sing when you can't even breathe properly?" And I said, "I am a singer. It's my job for years." He said, "Well, you've been singing incorrectly." And I thought, well, that's bullshit. No one's going to tell me what I've been doing or haven't been doing. He was right, by the way. I sat there now really starting to dislike this guy because he was rude. He seemed to have no empathy. And he did tell me a story about how he got to do what he was about to do. And I took it all with a grain of salt. So I was sitting here in this chair, Awi in front of me, and I was looking straight at her like I'm looking at you. And he stood behind me, and he started doing this. this like noise. I was like, oh, for fuck's sakes, fuck me. And while he's doing this, I'm looking at Ali, I'm going, and he's completely ignoring me. Then he does another one from the side, and now he goes, sort of high pitched noise, which is just like nothing's happening. And he said, how are you feeling? I said, I'm feeling nothing at all. And then he starts going, different tones all the time. And I'm like, geez, this better hurry up and finish. And while he's doing it, I'm actually looking at my watch, like, oh, come on, for fuck's sakes. And he's not even taking any notice of me. Carries on. It's going on and on and on. And I'm like, nothing's happening. And then something strange happens. He then does another tone. He's on my side again. And he's got a hand on my shoulder. And then he's like, and I can feel the slime going down my neck. Like the slime. One moment. Pace! Back in your box. Stay. Always keep on top of the dog. The slime, it's going down my throat. It's like, oh, I can feel it all going down. It's weird. He told me I would experience that. And I thought, he's put it in my mind. I'm just creating that in my mind. But no, I was like, I'm trying to swallow and I could keep feeling this slime. And I was looking at Arwen in front of me going, fuck. Anyway, that's it. He goes, finished. It's not like, how do you feel on that? He just, I'm finished. And then he goes, now move your neck to the left. Or your head at least on your neck to the left. So I got this. And I get to the point where I could go so far. And then I kept on going round and round and round and right around. And then I went the other way. Around and round and round. And then I went straight up and fully down. No pain. And I was absolutely blown away. I was fucking blown away. I spent so much money on chiropractors, physio, drugs, and here was this hippie guy who I didn't particularly like much, who had just completely healed my neck. That was part of it. The other thing he'd done is he had made my singing vibrato come. I'd never had vibrato on my voice. Vibrato, that means once upon a time if I said a note, it would be like Figaro. It'd just be one. But now I had this Figaro, and I had this vibrato that stayed there. Figaro! And I had that, and I've never lost it since. And I'd spent 13 years, doing 3,159 concerts in Europe singing without any vibrato in my voice. And suddenly, I could use my diaphragm and my vibrato. I gave him his $250. And I said, mate, this is incredible. And he said nothing back to me. He just, next please. We didn't have any, he wasn't amazed. He completely knew it was going to heal me, and it did. This story is about having an open mind. This story is about my closed mind and how today, having that healing and now having healings for cancer, prostate cancer, which has been part of my journey of wellness, I wanted to share with you guys because sometimes you've got to go outside of what you believe to be healed. The healing that I received from Walter, I can't remember his hippie name, was profound. I would have, if I had known that he was going to do that, I would have paid a lot more than $250. His one healing has stayed with me for the last 6 years. And my father always said to me, your neck will go back out again. Well, Dad, my neck never went back out. I still have neck problems sometimes and still go and see a chiropractor, but it just goes out. But that's not that problem. I still have the full movement. The other neck problems I have is muscular when I'm doing too much physical exercise or I strain it. But that actual axis that the head's floating on is still aligned. And he told me it would stay that way. He said possibly maybe 5-10 years we may do another session to realign you if you feel it's out, but it's not likely it's going to need it. And he was right. Keep your mind open to things that you don't believe in. Just keep it open, because sometimes the healing that you can receive can be so profound. That was my bro check video. I do have another one coming from Sal, and he's posted me, and I still haven't had a chance to get online. I've been away in the bush, in the high country and the low country, hunting pig and hunting chamois in the high country with a young fella, and I've just got back a couple of days ago, and this is my first day of rest. well, my rest's over now. My work's about to start. I'm going to get out of bed. And this is the first video I've done completely in my bed ever. And it's been fun. Go steady, and we'll see you in the next one.